Eyup, hope you're doing well. It feels a bit like the weekend today for some reason, but it's actually just a Thursday. It's currently the Easter holidays for me. I know different areas break up from school and college and all that at different times, but we're off now, and that's why I think it feels a little bit like a weekend. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just going to do a little intro just because I've not done one for a while, and I've had a few new subscribers over the past week or so. So if you're new here, hello and welcome to my channel. Really happy to have you here. My name is Hutch and I make Sims 4 videos. I also have a little Simstagram, as they call it, over on Instagram, where I post pictures of my builds, Sims, and other little bits and pieces on my stories. So if you want to check that out, my Instagram is always linked in the description, or you can just search Sims Hutch YT as well. So yeah, let's get into this build then. So I've been wanting to do a cottage or a cabin or something like that for a while, but I'm not really sure what I'd even call this one. It's kind of like a mix between a cottage and a cabin, I guess. And as you can tell by the title of the video, it's a house for some grandparents. Of course, you can move in whatever Sims you want, but that's kind of the Sims that I had in mind. I've wanted to make another house for some elder Sims for quite a while. And like I do with my other builds, I usually start building and then I get an idea of what type of Sims live there, and then I'll make them and include them in the screenshots at the end. So before I talk about the Sims that I created this house for, I'll talk about the build itself. So it's built on a 30 by 20 lot. It uses items from Get Together, Seasons and Cats and Dogs. It has 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and I built it in Windenburg. My gallery ID is always in the description if you'd like to download this build, and you'll also need to place it with the move objects on cheat, just to make sure that everything places correctly, like with the landscaping and stuff. So the Sims that live here, or the Sims that this house was kind of created for, are my 2 elder Sims and their granddaughter. Of course, like I said, you can place any Sims in this house or play with any Sims that you want to play with, but I'll put those Sims on the gallery just in case you want to download them as well. But these Sims have quite an interesting story. So the 2 elders, Mick and Jane, had a daughter who went on to have her own daughter called Elise, and yeah, their daughter is called Chelsea, and she had Elise, who is the granddaughter. So yeah, so Chelsea was quite a mean Sim. She didn't really take to the idea of parenting and parenthood itself, so she kind of left her daughter with her parents and just kind of went on to live her life in the way that she wanted to. She didn't really want the responsibility of taking care of a kid. So yeah, she left her daughter with her parents and went on to just live her life in the way that she wanted to, like I said. But on returning to her parents' home, she got into a pretty heated argument with them, and it resulted in her dying from anger. So it's pretty tragic and sad, and now Elise is in the permanent care of her grandparents, who absolutely adore her. And on the bright side to their story, they all get on really well, and Elise is quite an advanced child Sim. She's mastered all the childhood skills, the motor skills, social, creativity, all that. And generally she's quite happy. She's doing really well in school. So all that's kind of thanks to her grandparents bringing her up. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a background on the household that I have living here. But like I said, you can play this house however you'd like. So yeah, how's everyone's week been so far then? How are we all getting on? I've been alright. Had a really busy day yesterday. I decided to swap my kids' bedrooms round, so they're swapping with each other, and that means dismantling and moving and reorganising furniture, toys, clothes. Just a lot of organisation on my part, which has been a bit of a daunting task and a bit of a difficult one. I have ADHD, so my planning and organisation skills aren't the best. I had to write down the order that I did stuff in, because I can't just do things oh, I'll move this, then I'll move that, and then it's done. I have to kind of write it out in order, otherwise I can get confused, and I would have ended up trapping myself in one of the bedrooms otherwise, because I could move the bed and then move a wardrobe, But then it's like, oh, well, I need to move the other wardrobe into the next room. So it all gets a bit complicated. So yeah, to like write it down and keep track of like what I was doing. I'm also decorating one of the rooms. So I basically needed to empty it fully because it's quite a small room. And we've also got a new bed coming. So I had to dismantle the old one. And yeah, it was just a lot for one day. But I did all right. I managed to empty the room that I needed emptying. Cleaned behind where like furniture used to be. Moved furniture, had a bit of like a clear out with like clothes and stuff as well. And yeah, it was pretty productive. I felt pretty like proud by the end of it, but not without injury, unfortunately. It's rare that I can do stuff like this without hurting myself in some way because I am really like clumsy. When I was taking the bed apart, and it's a wooden bed, I was carrying the headboard downstairs and the headboard is attached to one of the legs. Well, that leg fell off and it landed right on top of my foot. And wow, did I scream. I was convinced that I'd like broken it or something. I think I swore a little bit as well. But yeah, I instantly felt sick and I couldn't think straight. Like I just had to like gather my thoughts and sort of think, it's okay. We'll have a look in a minute. You know, and you just go through one of those things, like if you've ever hurt yourself and you just cannot concentrate on anything but the pain, you just kind of need to gather yourself and like process it. Well, it was like one of those moments. So yeah, I was still able to walk after, so I don't think it's like broken or anything like that, but it's pretty badly bruised now. And I was stood on the stairs like just trying to breathe, because I was stood on the stairs when it happened. And yeah, I was just trying to like breathe through it, and my kids were like, "Mum, are you alright? What happened? And you said a naughty word." And I'm like, "Yeah, just hang on, just don't talk to me for a minute, I'm okay." Because you know, like when you hurt yourself to the point where you can't think of words, you can't really think of anything else or deal with anything else. You just have to kind of like deal with the pain. So yeah, and I just sort of thought, right, keep it contained because I'm gonna end up swearing. And obviously I didn't want to do that in front of them. So yeah, that's where my head was in that moment. And yeah, they were really sweet though. They helped me down the stairs. But yeah, it's not like a serious injury, but it did really hurt. But now the swelling has gone down and it's still bruised, but it's not as bad as yesterday. So yeah, I did an eventful Wednesday, but yeah, I still managed to record this build and I'm quite happy with how it turned out, so there's always that. I also want to talk about something else that's like quite important to me. I don't really have anything else to say about the build. It's pretty much speaks for itself. The kind of thing that I had in mind, what I wanted was just like what kind of grandparents' style is, I guess. I don't know, like I think back to my own grandparents whenever I build for elder Sims and just kind of like the wooden furniture that's got that like antique look to it. Because I know with my grandparents, like my nana has like furniture that she's had for decades and it's like really well looked after and like you wouldn't know, like she's had it for like so long and it's like solid wood. And yeah, so I just kind of went with that. The kitchen is quite small, but I figured like there's enough space for them to use. I've play tested the build and yeah, everything works just fine. Obviously the granddaughter has quite a decent sized bedroom. I also included a pond, just add a little bit more. I really enjoy building the ponds and there's a fair bit of like landscaping and all that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, like I said, there's something I want to talk about that's like pretty important. So April is Autism Acceptance Month, and you might know it better as Autism Awareness Month, or maybe not at all even. But many autistic people, myself included, prefer autism acceptance over awareness. There's a lot of resources online where you can learn why that's the case, and I'll link some Instagram pages run by actually autistic people that can explain things more, and also like explain why an overwhelming majority of autistic people are not on board with the Light It Up Blue campaign, which is used during the month of April, which was started by Autism Speaks. But from my own personal experiences as an autistic person, having others aware of the fact that I'm autistic is just not enough. I think most people now are aware of what autism is, or aware that it exists at least. I know there's still a lot of misconceptions, but with autism, I just think that, and not just me that thinks this, like I said, the overwhelming majority of autistic people just want to be accepted, and it's all well and good being aware of what it is, but you can be aware of something and not accept it. Like there's plenty of people that are aware of queerness and don't accept it. So So for my own personal experiences, I've had plenty of people in my life who are aware that I'm autistic, but they've not necessarily been that accepting of me. And this goes across different groups and people that I've interacted with. Like, my family in general are very supportive and understanding, but I've still had experiences where I've had things dismissed or minimised, or I've been looked at in ways where, like, people have judged me or kind of thought I was just weird. And I've always done what's called, like, stimming, which, if you don't know, you can, like, look that up, but I'll briefly explain. Stimming is something that a lot of autistic people do, and some people with ADHD do it as well, which I have as well. So yeah, I stim by mainly hand movements or arm movements, and I'll sometimes jump up and down, or I might pace, or I might just bounce. Like, I'll be stood like on the ground, but I'll kind of like bounce my knees depending on kind of what I'm experiencing at the time. And stimming helps me regulate how I'm feeling. It regulates sensory input. So sometimes things are just too loud, they're too bright, they're too busy, and I can't cope with that, and I can't process that. Like, my brain just cannot process all that, like, information at once. And sometimes I just do it because it's comforting. It's kind of like a comfort blanket, I guess, but it's just like a physical thing that you do. There's also verbal stims, and some people stim with, like, facial expressions. And yeah, but for me, I mainly do it with my hands. So it's something that I've not really done that much in front of other people. I probably did it quite a lot as a kid, but I learned very early on not to, because I would get other kids laugh at me or point it out. Grown-ups around me would tell me to stop fidgeting, sit still, stop doing that. I've even had, like, ableist slurs said to me, like, people would say stop acting like the R word, and just, like, a range of things. And that was before people knew I was autistic. I didn't even know that I was autistic until, like, last year. So I'm still kind of on a journey of understanding myself and accepting myself. And that's why I'm talking about Autistic Acceptance Month, with it being April now, because it kind of reflects a lot of things that I care about it. I care about a lot of issues, but obviously this is something that relates to me as a person. And yeah, so like I said, in sort of like in relation to awareness and acceptance, like I said, plenty of people are aware of it, but they've not necessarily accepted me for what it is. So I think sometimes people will accept the fact that you struggle in social situations, but they don't want to be there when you're struggling. When I'm there talking about, like, a bowel movement I had, or when I'm not 100% sure on when it's my turn to speak, or when I'm talking about something inappropriate in general, they're not there to accept that. It gets brought up, like, that's inappropriate, that's rude, you're mean, you're disrespectful. And obviously it's not all, like, bad. Like, I don't want to paint autism as this horrible thing, because it's not. It's just a different thing that people are. And autism isn't something that's separate to me. It's not a separate entity it's on its own thing, like a disease or an illness or whatever. It is me, it's who I am. And the same goes for all autistic people. It's not a separate thing that we have to accept. It's a person, and we're not just accepting autism, we're accepting autistic people, autistic human beings. And that goes across all types of autistic people. Obviously, we're not a monolith. We're not just one homogenous group. We're varied, just like neurotypical people are. So all different kinds of autistic people need to be accepted as well, whether it's non-verbal autistics, people of colour, disabled autistics, whoever it is, and whatever their identity is, should obviously be accepted either way. But in reference to Autism Acceptance Month, I think it's important to just kind of talk about this kind of stuff. Obviously, I have quite a small platform. I'm not like the spokesperson for autism, and I'll never claim to be that. But it is something that I care about. If it weren't for the fact that I were autistic, I don't even think I would have a channel. I don't think I would be interested in The Sims as much as I am. Obviously, I know that plenty of neurotypical people like The Sims, and there's plenty of neurotypical people that have Sims channels. But for me, it has kind of been the reason why I kind of pushed myself to make a channel, to make videos and my lifelong interest in The Sims has been so kind of intense and kind of profound in my life. So yeah, I just think, I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but I know it's quite like a heavy subject for a Sims 4 speed build, but like I said, I just think it's really important to talk about these things. And for me personally, I've been working on a lot of self-acceptance, which I think everybody should do, whatever your identity is, whatever type of person you are. I think it's important to accept yourself and love yourself for who you are. And obviously if there's things you want to improve on, then that's fine. But I think everybody should be accepted no matter what. And I mean, obviously there is exceptions like certain crimes and things, but in the like sort of people on the spectrum and people that are neurodivergent and things like that, like definitely, obviously the whole month of April is kind of meant to be for that. Not meant to be for that, like April wasn't invented for that, but like in terms of this. So yeah, for me, like the self-acceptance thing is like I've kind of pushed myself to stim in public, and that has kind of been tricky for me because it's like an automatic thing. I don't really think about it. I'm not always aware that I'm doing it. And I've still picked up on people looking at me and like frowning, and I've even seen people like look as though they're talking about me, and plenty of people, and those people know what autism is, they're aware of what it is. But I think if we just accept autistic people as a whole, then those kind of things, you know, where we look at other people and think, oh, why are they doing that? That's weird. I think then that kind of issue would kind of be helped. Obviously, whether or not people judge you in public, it's not necessarily about that. Autism acceptance spreads to many other different areas, like in education, the workplace, the government, everything. It relates to everything. So that's just kind of my take on it. It's a very brief take on it. I could probably make an entire video talking about this kind of stuff, but I don't necessarily think that it's really my place to do that. I don't know. I'm speaking of my own personal experience. I'm not like formally educated on this stuff. I've done a few training courses, but I don't think that's like sufficient enough to be talking about it in a way where I can speak for others. I don't think anyone can ever speak for others, but yeah, like I said, I know it's a little bit heavy for a Sims 4 speed build video, and now I'm wondering whether or not to include it in the voiceover, because talking about this stuff can open you up to like ableism, and I've already received like queerphobic comments just from talking about queerness. But I think no matter the size of my platform, this is something that I care about deeply, and yeah, I guess that's it. Support and accept autistic people. Educate yourself if you're not aware. There's always room to learn, isn't there? So yeah, with that, happy Autism Acceptance Month. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you later. Bye!